The man was an enigma to Franz. The Count must feel sure that Franz recognized him, and yet he had not let fall a single word indicating any previous acquaintance between them. On his side, however great Franz's desire was to allude to their former interview, the fear of being disagreeable to the man who had loaded him and his friend with kindness prevented him from mentioning it. The Count had learned that 2 friends had sent to secure a box at the Argentina Theatre, and were told they were all let. In consequence, he brought them a key of his own. At least such was the apparent motive of his visit. Franz and Albert made some difficulty, alleging their fear of depriving him of it, but the Count replied that, as he was going to the Pallor Theatre, the box at the Argentina Theatre would be lost if they did not profit by it. This assurance determined the 2 friends to accept it. Franz had, by degrees, become accustomed to the Count's pallor, which had so forcibly struck him at their first meeting. He could not refrain from admiring the severe beauty of his features, the only defect, or rather the principal quality of which was the pallor. Truly, a Byronic hero, Franz could not, we will not say see him, but even think of him without imagining his stern head upon Manfred's shoulders, or beneath Lara's helmet. His forehead was marked with the line that indicates the constant presence of bitter thoughts. He had the fiery eyes that seemed to penetrate to the very soul, and the haughty and disdainful upper lip that gives to the words it utters a peculiar character that impresses them on the minds of those to whom they are addressed. Interesting. I realize we haven't talked about the lack of acknowledgement about their past meeting. It's just kind of been a given for me. But that is something to consider, isn't it? What is Dante playing at? It's one of these things where if you both know it and no one's saying it, I mean, what's the motive behind it? And that's obviously what Franz is wondering himself here. He's clearly benefiting, as much as Albert is, from Dante's benevolence, but to confront him about their previous encounter would be rude. I'm assuming that's a cultural thing that, I guess even would hold water today. But instead of that confrontation, we get more scrutiny from Franz in trying to parse who Dante is. And I don't know about you, but it seems like in this passage today, Franz's suspicion has kind of shifted back into fascination. This is where Dumas, I think, is good at using metaphor, where at times he will compare characters like Vampa or Dante when he was in the prison to predatory animals or other or other types of people or creatures in order to convey a point. There's a lot of mythology. Here, Dumas is having Franz see Dante through a Byronic lens, if you want to frame it that way, comparing him to characters from Byronic poems. We've talked a lot about Lord Byron on this show, more than I thought we would. But what is, it's easier to know when you're comparing someone to like a coyote, a wolf, or some sort of, nocturnal predator, what Dumas is conveying. Even those mythological comparisons are easy. But let's just talk real quick about what a Byronic hero is, if you're not up on Lord Byron. And I'm not entirely. I've read a handful of things. Obviously, I've gone into my love of the weekend where Frankenstein and Carmilla or Dracula, the idea of the sophisticated vampire was born. But for other projects, I've read Don Juan, and I've just kind of come across Byron a lot in my peripheral view of reading and doing other things. But so I did a little bit more research for myself to deepen my understanding of what this reference actually means. So Byron was very much an emotional writer, and it's easy to kind of assume that the references just mean that it's indicating at a sort of moody character. But Byronic heroes have some very specific characteristics. Often they're intellectually superior, they're very emotional. Like Don Juan, they're socially detached. I mean, minus the love trysts, but like the love trysts are what makes him socially detached from the larger society. They often have some sort of internal thing going on, like guilt, or they're harboring trauma or a secret of some sort. I think it's very common that his characters reject conventional morality. Don Juan is a shining example of that. And they're often enigmatic, the way that Franz is saying here, where there's this kind of push and pull. They're magnetic, but they're repulsive or unsettling. Like, you don't feel comfortable around them, but you can't help but be drawn into their power. We have two different works here that are being referenced. One is called Manfred, who is a character, but also the name of one of Byron's poems. Who is Manfred? He's a character who is basically a mountain man. Well, not like a survivalist, but like he's isolated himself, alienated himself into the mountains because he's haunted by guilt. And for him, there's these supernatural forces at play, something just kind of ethereal going on. And ultimately, he's a character who refuses, he rejects authority and refuses a redemption arc. Now, I found that line particularly interesting when I was doing this research, as I've asked so many times about, is Dante redeemable at this point? I mean, we haven't even really seen him do anything short of talk about executions and forcing others to watch executions and having these deep, dark thoughts. We haven't seen him exact revenge on anyone yet. And already I'm wondering whether or not this is a man that is capable of redemption or even now wants it. Lara is another poem, another character that touches on similarities to Dante in a different way. This is a nobleman who has been traveling. He's wealthy. He's someone who is socially perfect, someone who has a grasp over social situations, someone that I think, like, Dante has this kind of superficial control over, making sure every interaction he has is controlled. I don't think I explained that very well, but I think you got my meaning. But Lara is also someone who's hiding something and does not talk about his past. And the core tension with that character is that he commands attention without over-explaining himself. Kind of like a politician. He can say 1,000 words and never really say anything, but at the same time be captivating and charismatic and charming. I don't think this is telling us anything we didn't already know about Dante, but knowing that Franz is clocking these things now in this way, it tells us a little bit about Franz, but also just kind of confirms some of our beliefs about where Dante is at this point in his arc. And Dumas, being the person that he is, loves a good Byronic reference. It's his world of literature and playwrights. So let us join together tomorrow to see if Franz's profiling of Dante continues or if he gives us a reaction to everything that's been going on. Great. Grand. Wonderful. Till tomorrow. Okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.